All right, so moving on from discussing that, we're going to be doing our favorite top five favorite Batman movies. In honor of the Batman film that's coming out next week, I'm excited to see it. I'm seeing it
Mhm.
March
I'm
3rd, so I'm excited.
Yeah, same. I'm seeing it this Friday my time to talk about it Saturday my time on the show. So Friday night, Saturday for you people.
Yeah. So yeah, I cannot wait to see that. So we're just gonna be going back and forth. Doing our
Mhm.
favorite ones. Do you want to go first? Or I should
Mhm.
go first, or what?
Sure. So, starting at my number five as my greatest Batman films of all time. This was a list that I spent a lot of time. I revisited all of these, and it's one that was very, very painstaking to have to cut stuff out. So, my number five is going to be Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. This was the sequel to the amazing run of cartoons on Cartoon Network, Batman Beyond, where we saw Terry McGinnis take on the role of Batman, along with Kevin Conroy reprising his role as a much older Bruce Wayne after his retirement. And Return of the Joker, it's exactly that. It's in Neo Gotham, we see the return of Mark Hamill's the Joker, and we get a much deeper look at the end of his relationship with the Kevin Conroy Batman. And when you talk about some of the darkest storytelling that was ever done on Cartoon Network, this is one of the biggest examples in terms of how this film handles its characters in the past and how traumatic that was and how much it haunts them, and how much it still haunts Bruce Wayne to this day. And for this film, it's also the point where if you weren't sold on Terry McGinnis as Batman, which I was that kid. I was always on the Terry McGinnis train. This was the one where he stood out, and it kind of closes his arc from the original series, where he was kind of this like punk kid trying to find redemption as Batman. And you have this very very emotional scene with Bruce Wayne telling him is like, "Look, kid, it's not the cowl that makes you like a good person. You do. You make Batman."
Yeah, I was.
And on top of that, just incredible voice performance from Will Friedle, who voices Terry McGinnis, Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne, who is always fantastic, and one of my favorite turns of Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Yes. Yeah, I was a big fan of Batman Beyond. I really would love if they do a Batman Beyond movie, live action. Just to do something
Hmm.
different with the Batman franchise. Like if you just advance it all the way. What was? Do you remember the year that Batman Beyond was set in?
I think it was supposed to be like 2050 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if they do something like that,
Yeah,
like in this.
yeah, if they gave like Denny Villeneuve the fucking reins on Batman Beyond and just told him to like get that Blade Runner aesthetic, because that was a huge influence on the. It was basically, what if we threw Batman into Blade Runner?
Yeah, because even Batmobile is kind of like kind of like a ship from Blade Runner. Kind of looks like that.
Yeah,
Like
which I was so happy because I had that toy when I.
oh wow, you did. Oh, I'm kind of jealous. I didn't have
Yeah, I
that.
had I had the Beyond Batmobile.
Oh wow, that's pretty nice. But yeah, I would love if they did that. If they did kind of a movie, because it would be something different from what you see normally from just what you see regularly with the Batman stuff. But and also, I think that the Gabriella from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina from You, I think she'd make a
Hmm.
great Maxine. I think she'd make a really awesome
Ooh.
Maxine if they ever did one. Yeah, I was a big fan of this movie. I thought it was very, very good. It was kind of sad that the show ended as early as it did, and they had to
Mhm.
kind of do
It
their.
yeah, it was kind of an uphill battle from the jump because you had at the time it was, why are you doing like this reboot to the animated series? Because I don't even think the Batman animated series had ended at that point.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it did at that point. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't even there over yet.
Oh,
Um,
it was started in 1992, it ended in 1992. My bad.
Okay.
But you still had Justice League going on around the same time, or right immediately after.
Yeah,
Fuck,
and
my dates are all off. I am wrong on all of this. My bad.
yeah, because Batman Beyond, they had to put their finale with the Justice League. They had to kind of sneak their own series finale in a Justice League episode there
Hmm.
for the series because they couldn't do it on their own
Yeah,
show.
which is a series finale I vehemently dislike. Because the
Really?
series finale proposes that, hey, Terry McGinnis is Bruce Wayne's biological son, which completely undercuts the whole point of the show, that anybody could be Batman.
I didn't quite kind of like that element of it. That they kind of did
Mhm.
some weird science stuff that made him, his son and everything like that. I didn't like that too much, but I still thought it's kind of still a good, really good finale, and seeing kind of this a
Mhm.
little bit older Terry McGinnis, who's all jacked, he's all built and everything like that.
Mm.
He's been doing a lot of push-ups, been doing a lot of push-ups. Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was a great series, Batman Beyond, and a great movie with Batman Beyond: Return of the
Mhm.
Joker. All right, so for me, my fifth pick, I'm gonna go Dark Knight Returns, which was
Mm.
the 2-part animated film that came out. Um, and with Dark Knight Returns, it's based on the work of Frank Miller, and it was one of the first comics I ever read. Was Dark Knight Returns,
Mm.
and it was like, wow. I mean, really great stuff. I mean, seeing a much older Batman. I mean, Dark Knight Returns is what a lot of people, when they do Batman movies, they base live action Batman movies. They base a lot of it on Frank Miller's run on Batman with Dark Knight Returns,
Mhm.
even like Batman: The Long Halloween. Um,
Yeah, Long Halloween is Jeff Loeb.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff Loeb. I'm sorry about that.
Year one was Frank Miller as
Yeah,
well.
year one. Yeah, sorry about that. So they base a lot of
Mhm.
that stuff kind of on those runs of kind of Batman and everything like that.
Mhm.
And so here you have a much older Batman and also another future type setting. You have Batman at 55 years old, I believe, or in his 50s. Yeah,
Mhm.
around that age. In this kind of overrun Gotham, he's been retired as Batman for a number of years. He's been retired as Batman because of after the death of Jason Todd, and he kind
Mhm.
of just quit being Batman at that time. And now it's like, and the way they kind of treat it in Dark Knight Returns is that Batman, it's almost like it's not just another, it's like his alter ego. It's like almost another personality that like kind
Mhm.
of takes hold of him. Like Batman, it's almost like psychologically. It's like there's scenes where it's like almost like calling out to him to be Batman, to return.
Mm.
You know what I mean? To come back. And in this, you see a guy who's like very reckless. You know what I mean? He's like doing things where he's jumping in, like in a race and everything like that, and and just doing all this stuff. And I much love that in this movie.
Mm.
And I much also love a lot of the kind of where he's fighting this mutant leader and everything like that. And
Mhm.
given that this was written back in the 90s, mind you, you're gonna
Yeah,
have
it was written. It was written back in the '80s during the Reagan administration,
oh yeah.
and that was a lot of what Frank Miller was criticizing with this book, about how jingoistic the media was at the time, with the like Red Scare, with the fear of communism and fear of that overrunning and anarchy, and especially like with New York, that place was a shithole. It was basically real life Gotham City at the time.
Yeah, yeah, because this came out in 1986. Yeah, yeah, very much, yeah, like that. Yeah, and you do have this being kind of like this future. They try to do like these mutant characters. You do have like this,
Mhm.
a lot of the slang terms and everything like that they do with these kind of mutant characters, and just the brutality. Now this kind of much older Batman. That he's older and he's just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm putting you
Mhm.
down. I mean, you know what I mean. Like I'm not wasting any time
Mhm.
here. It's just that classic line that he has when he's fighting the leader of the mutants, where he talks about,
Mm.
I'm the surgeon, and then, this is my table. You know what I mean? He's really just beating him down. I think is really, really great.
Mm.
And then that's, also, that's what you saw, like a lot of, stuff where you saw, like in Batman versus Superman, where he puts on, like, he has the whole
Oh yeah,
gear.
this is very, yeah. Zack Snyder owes all of his fucking Batman material to Frank Miller, because it's basically lifted right from the page.
Yeah.
And in that film, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in that film, it kind of to me comes off as like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like Frank Miller had this very specific take on Batman. He saw him as this old, much older, more like world weary and kind of fucking crazy guy. And when you try to put him with like a Justice League, that doesn't really work. And even in the like intro of the book, they literally say that yeah, the government outlawed masks. It was basically the future that Alan Moore predicted. And Superman is now a puppet for the government, which I like part two of this a lot more because you have the introduction of Mark Valley from Human Target as Superman, which I think he's a great performance. And you have Peter Weller as Bruce Wayne, who I think is a stellar casting. Was an iffy casting decision until I actually heard him as the character, and wow, he's great.
yeah. Peter Weller as Batman, I think he does a decent job.
Hmm.
Like after Kevin Conroy left the role, it was like such a big void of,
Hmm.
I think Bruce Greenwood, who voices Batman on like the
Hmm.
Young Justice series and everything like that, I think he does a really good job as Batman voicing him.
Hmm.
I think he's a great choice. Peter Weller, I think is okay here as Batman. Bruce Wayne Batman. You also have.
I think he's good for this take on Batman. The only casting decision that I wasn't a big fan of was Michael Emerson as the Joker.
Yeah, you have Michael Emerson here, who's the Joker, who's playing a very, has Joker kind of very effeminate, kind of
He,
in a way.
he's
So
playing the way Frank Miller wrote him, and it's more as like an effeminate David Bowie-esque type Joker.
yeah, he's kind of playing that way. I think he does. Again, it's like big shoes to fill with Mark Hamill leaving the role. Same thing with like
Yeah,
Batman.
it's one of those things when I think at the time they announced this, the big discourse online was you're making the Dark Knight Returns and you're not bringing back Conroy and Hamill.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that doesn't even make a difference because you saw that with the Killing Joke. Like that doesn't even make a difference.
There's a lot more wrong with the Killing Joke than just that bringing them in.
Yeah, yeah. I just mean, yeah, you can't always, save it sometimes. Yeah, with sometimes acting choices. Yeah, but yeah, I thought this was, a really, really, really great one, and the two part, adaptation they have, the two parter they did with this one, I thought
Yeah,
was pretty good.
and I think if you could look for it online, you can find this like supercut of both parts put together as one cohesive film, and I think it works much better watching it that way than it does as like two separate hour 20-minute movies.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What about you?
Okay, my next one is I'm looking at our list, and we kind of got the same choice here. It's Batman Under the Red Hood.
Yeah.
So Red Hood is one of my favorite characters, and taking one of the story arcs with Under the Hood and Death in the Family and adapting it in this way, where you bring back Jason Todd, who was the second Robin after Dick Grayson, and dealing with his death, and then several years later, the emergence of the Red Hood and all of the mind games and manipulation that he does in order to haunt Batman for his mistake. And it has some of the best action sequences in one of these. I love the animation style. I love the performances. I think this was the first time we saw Bruce Greenwood as Batman, and he fills those shoes marvelously. And on top of that, you have, I think, an underrated Joker performance with John DiMaggio, who we all know as Bender, as Jake from Adventure Time, Jensen Ackles from Supernatural as Jason Todd here, Neil Patrick Harris as Nightwing, which is kind of a really underrated role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it had, and out of all of these DC and direct-to-video animated films, I think it's either this or my next choice that stands out as the absolute best. And it has one of the best endings out of all of these. It's an ending that you have this emotional confrontation with Jason Todd and Bruce Wayne, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Jason Ackles, he comes in as Jason Todd, the Red Hood. It was funny. Like I remember playing that Arkham Knight game, and they tried to do like, oh, we got this brand new character called Arkham Knight, and he's gonna be in here.
Fetch.
Like, and you play the game for like 2 minutes, and you realize if you only read one text,
you play it for like 5 minutes, and it's something you see coming a mile away.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder why we're hearing so much about Jason Todd in this game.
Yeah, it's like
Wink, wink.
you can easily figure it out. It's like, okay, this is some big mystery, but okay.
It,
Um,
it, it was it was more egregious than fucking J.J. Abrams in every interview talking about, hey, look, Benedict Cumberbatch is not playing Khan.
yeah, I mean, it's like everybody can see coming. I mean, it was like, okay, yeah, we all know what's happening here. And Jason Ackles does a great job, playing the. Jason Ackles does a great job playing Jason Todd here. And
Yeah,
yeah,
even at the time watching Supernatural, it was clear to see who was the much actor out of the two of them.
yeah, it was very much clear. And I always thought Jason Ackles, I thought he would have made a great Captain America because I know he was in the running for Captain America.
He was up for it. He was up for that and Thor at the time.
Yeah, and I thought, yeah, he would have. Yeah, I thought he would have made a great Captain America. I was really because I was a big fan of Supernatural, and I was like, yeah, I'm really rooting for Jason Ackles to get it. And I think, he
Hey,
did great.
we're getting a Captain America-esque with him playing Soldier Boy and Boys.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see him on The Boys. Yeah, I think he's a very good actor. I'm surprised why I haven't seen him in more stuff after. Well,
Because he's been tied up with Supernatural for like the last 12 years.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't wait to see him on that. But yeah, I think he does a great job here doing the voice work. That's very impressive. They said the action is also very impressive as well. When you see Red Hood fight Batman is also very good. You have Joe DiMaggio, or is it John DiMaggio
Yeah.
as Joker here. You see, because there's always different interpretations people do with all these different comic book characters. Here, like we just talked about with Michael Emerson playing the Joker in Dark Knight Returns, he plays a very more effeminate Joker, like how Frank Miller wrote up here under the Red Hood. It's more Joker is more like just a thug, just kind of like more like a plain kind of thug. So John DiMaggio with the voice isn't really trying to go very high pitched or go very what I mean, kind of that way. It's more kind of straight, like deeper kind of voice he tries to go with the Joker, just more kind of emphasizing on the thug kind of factor of the Joker, criminal thug.
Yeah, it's very similar. I think his take is very similar to what Heath Ledger did with the character.
Yeah. Yeah, so to some degree, but he's not as like wild or crazy as like what Heath Ledger did with kind of the Joker there.
Yeah, with him, it's more clear that there's a method to the madness.
Yeah. So yeah. And then you mentioned Neil Patrick Harris, who comes in as Nightwing, and things like that. I think he does also a solid job as well. Yeah, I really
And
enjoyed this.
really underrated take. You have Jason Isaacs, Ra's al Ghul, which his scene with Batman when Batman is doing all the digging into the Red Hood, that might be one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, very, a lot of really good stuff there. So yeah, I absolutely, really do love Batman Under the Red Hood a lot. I saw that on a lot of people's lists when I was doing the whole Twitter. Yeah, when people put their lists, I saw that.
Yeah, it's one of the greats. I think when people talk about like the DC animated movie, it's always either like this Phantasm or Flashpoint Paradox that tops everybody's like number one.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to begin into my next one here. Now, I was kind of debating on whether or not I should put this one because I was like, well, this is kind of really more of a Suicide Squad movie, I guess. I mean, it's more Suicide Squad, but then Batman kind of shows up. And I'm talking about Batman Assault on Arkham. What kind of your thought? You think that that's more of a Suicide Squad movie?
Yeah, this feels much more like a Suicide Squad movie. Like the final bit, like big battle with the Joker, is between Joker and Deadshot more than it is Batman. Batman is essentially a side character, which
Yeah.
I get why you sold the movie that way, because you're tying this into the Arkham games. You have Kevin Conroy back reprising the role, and it's much easier to sell a movie with Batman on the title than it is the Suicide Squad, which was a huge problem with the time, and even continuing to this day with Warner Brothers. Like, you have Batman on the cover and prominently featured in Justice League Dark when it doesn't really make sense to have him there.
Yeah, like Justice League. Yeah, they have him. Yeah, Justice League. It feels like they just throw in Batman because it's like, fuck it, we know Batman. That's our big guy. So let's just throw in Batman in here.
Yeah, but here it makes sense. This is a lot of his rogues. This is taking place inside Arkham. I think it works better here than it does there.
Yeah. So yeah, he kind of shows up kind of almost sort of a little like midway through it. But it's mostly a Suicide Squad movie, I'd say,
Mhm.
with Batman kind of showing up because, like I said, it makes sense because it's his rogues gallery that makes up the Suicide Squad, like Harley
Yeah,
Quinn.
yeah. Joker is the main villain of this.
Yeah, Joker's the man who's voiced by Troy Baker in this. Who
Yeah, I think this was him doing the role before he was cast in Arkham Origins.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. How do you like his Joker?
I love it. I think it's Mark Hamill light, but he has some great lines in this movie and in the Arkham Origins game that stands out to me as a really great Joker.
Mm,
Like him fucking around with the guards, him seeing like a black spider's dead body and him fucking with them, shooting out the electric chair room was great.
yeah. Yeah, I think he does some good bits. I think he does kind of a decent job as Joker there here, Troy Baker. Um,
He is playing it as Hamill light, but it's still entertaining.
yeah, still pretty decent. And then you also have another like Deadshot, who's also part of Batman's Rogues Gallery as well.
Hmm.
That's here. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good really good action movie. And then the Suicide Squad being sent to stop the Joker. It's basically what the first Suicide Squad movie should have been instead of them trying to throw in.
It's what the first Suicide Squad promised it would be,
Yeah, like
and then the movie came out.
yeah, instead of them trying to fight Enchantress, which was like what the fuck. I mean, that didn't really just like that didn't make any fucking sense for them for these
So
people
this
to fight Enchantress.
just like this is way outside your pay grade. Like even in the Suicide Squad, Starro is like outside of their skill set, but that was never their mission.
Yeah, yeah, it just kind of happened. Yeah, there basically. Yeah,
Hmm.
so, yeah, I mean, I really did enjoy this one a lot. I think it does have really great action and it does have great momentum of these animated movies.
Hmm.
Really, having something like great momentum throughout the movie that keeps you invested all the way through. There's little slow moments I don't think in it, which a lot of these anime movies they're really short. They're only like an hour and 15, hour and 20. So a lot of these
Yeah,
they gotta go go
yeah,
go
I
go.
think the longest one is Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, and that tops at an hour 30.
Yeah, so you got to really go 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 with a lot of these and throwing a lot of that stuff and information, and I think it does a great job of doing that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie. All right, what's next for you? And this ties. This is like my fifth one. This ties with Dark Knight Returns, but I would put
Oh,
probably
you cheating motherfucker.
Dark Knight Returns over this one for sure. All right,
Mhm.
what do you got?
Okay, my next one, it's gonna be one of the greatest animated Batman films of all time, and it's the first one that actually released in theaters. It's Mask of the Phantasm.
Hmm.
You have this story, you have this continuation of the original animated series. All of the actors from that returning: Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne / Batman, Mark Hamill as the Joker, and here this is essentially the telling of Batman Year Two. It's an adaptation of that story. You have the flashbacks to Bruce Wayne long before he ever became Batman, and dealing with his ill-fated romance with Andrea Beaumont, who is another young heiress who lost their family, and you see the conflict and the heartbreak and the tragedy that comes with that. And some of the most emotional set pieces that you get with Kevin Conroy as the character. It's the scene to this day where it's young Bruce Wayne at his parents' tombstone crying, begging them to please just let me not do this. Let me be happy. And he's so broken that he can't see that that's the right thing to do. And in his heartbreak, that's the turning point for him becoming Batman.
Hmm.
And then you see the consequences of that and see how their time apart and how that romance set both her and Andrea apart and how it drove them into their futures. And I like the little teases that you get with the Joker that it's not like one bad day as he's always claiming. He was always this fucked up.
Mm. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, I think it's not only one of the best Batman movies, I think it's just one of the best animated movies ever. It would be
Yeah,
maybe in
100% agree.
and it's an amazing film. And it has that, because it's a continuation of what the Batman the animated series was. And I think Batman the animated series is one of the greatest animated series ever made as well, and a continuation of that art style, which is gorgeous, which is really beautiful. Of
Hmm.
that art style. I remember, like, I think I was in, where was I? I think, was I in Dubai? Or was I in Japan? Where I saw like the Batmobile from the anime series. And I wanted to buy it. I should have bought that Batmobile because I saw it and it was like gorgeous. I was like, man, I should have maybe bought that.
Yeah,
Um,
when I went to that like DC Comics exhibit in Tokyo, they had like a little raffle for they had like those little coin slot machines where you could get like a random bat toy, and they had both that they had the one from the animated series, they had the one from the 60s, and they had the tumbler from the Dark Knight. And I ended up doing that thing twice, and I got two of the same one, the 60s Batmobile, and I was pissed.
yeah, well, the '60s. I
It's like,
mean, I like the
it's
'60s
cool,
Bat.
but I wanted the animated series.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, I would have been like,
And
yeah.
I wanted the animated series, and I couldn't articulate in Japanese. Trade.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is an amazing film. And like I said, showing the romance there and showing how Bruce
Mhm.
Wayne has this code, as Batman. And, it's almost like he needs Batman more than Gotham needs Batman, I think, to a certain
Mm.
degree. And, just that type of psychology there is with that character. And of course, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, for a lot of people, are the definitive Batman and Joker.
Whoa,
That's
whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't even say like for a lot of people. They are the definitive Batman and Joker.
Well, a lot of people love Heath Ledger's Joker. A lot of people see that. A lot of people love that. A lot of people love Christian Bale as Batman. I know even a lot of people love Ben Affleck. A lot of people love Ben Affleck. I think, you
Yeah,
know,
and out of those people who don't have Zack Snyder's cock in their mouth constantly.
yeah. I mean, even though I don't really like Zack Snyder's Batman, all that much stuff
Mhm.
he did with him, I will say that I still think that Ben Affleck is the best live action Batman. I will say that.
We
I
will see. We will see this coming week.
Yeah, maybe Ron Pattinson can take over. I don't know. I saw him at the.
Everything I'm seeing, every interview I see with Robert Pattinson, how much he loves the character, everything I'm seeing, it's pointing me in that direction.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I can't wait. Also, it's almost 3 hours
Yeah,
too.
I like Ben Affleck's take on Batman. I think it was just he got Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Because I love the
Mhm.
suit. I love the action scene, like in the
Mhm.
warehouse. I think it's great. I was like, oh
I
man.
yeah even in the Snyder cut where where his Batman is given a lot more justice, a lot more to do. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just yeah, such a great stuff they do with it. And even that Phantasm character that makes a return in Batman Beyond and Return of the Joker. It makes a little
Yep, cameo.
cameo appearance there, which I thought was, yeah, pretty nice there.
Mhm.
Which was pretty dope. So yeah, yeah, absolutely amazing. That's a great pick. Yeah, saw that movie on a lot of people's list as well. Batman Mask of the Phantasm. All right, so moving on to my pick here. It's Batman Under the Red Hood. Is my next one. We talked about it a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Mhm.
a really, really kind of great one as well. And a lot of this stuff you can all watch if you have HBO Max. If you can check it out, you can watch all this Batman stuff all under Warner Brothers. All check it out. Yeah, right there. So yeah, for me, it's Batman Under the Red Hood. All right. What about you?
Okay, my next pick is my number two, and I get a lot of from this. My number two greatest of all time, it's Batman Begins.
Mm.
And I have a very specific reason why I put Begins over The Dark Knight. I think because with Batman Begins, one, I think it's Nolan's absolute greatest film. You have this deep dive of the character with Bruce Wayne and Christian Bale's performance that I don't think any of the other two in the Nolan trilogy really go into as much depth of Bruce's character. With this one, I feel like the inner turmoil of this young man who is so broken by this tragedy that happened to him that he is willing to travel the world, learn all of these skills, and become this dark crusader. And in as far as grounding it in the real world, this was one of the first ones that did it. This like came out. This was like a precursor to stuff like Iron Man in terms of how grounded it was, how it showed the minutia of becoming Batman. It has one of my favorite villain performances from Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul and Cillian Murphy as a Scarecrow, who keeps coming back in all of these Nolan films and is a welcome addition to anything. I think with this film, it's the only one of the Nolan trilogy that really focuses Bruce Wayne, and that's why I think it's a much better Batman film. I acknowledge The Dark Knight is a better film overall. It's just when I think about what I love about Batman, this is the one that stands out more to me.
Yeah. Batman Begins. Love Christian Bale. Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors. I really
he's one of the greatest.
Yeah.
And just the transformation he did to his body, because this was his film right after Machinist. He had like an entire year to put back on the weight he lost for The Machinist, and also put on a more muscle to play Batman.
Yeah. That you mentioned that. I was gonna just bring that up. The transformation that he did. If you ever seen him in The Machinist, to go from that to Batman.
The Machinist to Batman was like 2 years apart.
Yeah, really amazing work from him to get on that. And you have Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. Is it Ra's al Ghul or is it Ra's al Ghul? Because I've always heard
in the comics and the animated series they pronounce Ra's al Ghul. And I think even in Arabic, where that name comes from, that's how it's pronounced.
Okay, Ra's al Ghul. Because I think I've heard it both ways, and both sometimes in some different animated stuff and other different ones. I think I've heard it both ways. But Ra's al Ghul, I think he does a great job there. With that, I think Michael Caine as Alfred is great.
He's one of the best takes on the character. And when you think about Batman in the modern context, this is really the film that saved it, because the name Batman, after the disaster that was Batman and Robin in the 90s, that franchise was dead. And they spent millions of dollars and a whole bunch of different directors to try and revive the character. You had Darren Aronofsky about to do his take on Year One. You had Joel Schumacher in talks to make a third of the Batman trilogy that would have tied back with Jack Nicholson's Joker reprising the role. And eventually Warner Brothers decided to do this smaller scale thing, and this newer-ish director with Christopher Nolan. He had a lot of buzz on the indie circuit with stuff like Insomnia and Memento, and this was essentially handing him the reins. He had almost the perfect storm of circumstances to make a movie like this happen, and what came out was one of the most critically acclaimed films of that year and one of the biggest earners of 2005.
Yeah, this was when superhero movies, they were still coming up. You didn't know if you were really going to get a bad one or a good one. This was at the time where you had Blade already.
Yeah, this was off the heels of stuff like Blade Trinity, Daredevil, Elektra, Ang Lee's Hulk. And just to get a not just a good superhero movie, but one that is taken as seriously as this film is. And you have these Academy Award caliber actors bringing their A game to this film. It's before this, Morgan Freeman wasn't saying yes to a superhero movie. Michael Caine wasn't saying yes to one of these.
I don't know. Michael Caine is kind of a whore. He'll say yes to a lot of stuff.
He's a whore now, more so now than he was back in the 2000s.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was kind of you didn't really know if you were going to get a good one, bad one of these. And this really showed up and did an amazing style. Christopher Nolan, like you said, kind of this smallish director given the reins of kind of this big superhero franchise. And I guess you think that's a trend now with giving smaller directors big franchise movies, but I guess they were doing that a lot too back then, because you had, like you said, Nolan, and then Sam Raimi, even with Spider-Man, because Sam Raimi was mostly just known for doing smaller stuff Evil Dead.
Yeah, he was a smaller, low-budget horror director, and he gave him Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I think you do have a big history of doing that. And do you remember who did Blade? The first one?
That was Stephen Norrington.
Stephen Norrington, yeah. Do you remember what he did before he did Blade?
No idea.
Okay, yeah. Because, he did a movie, it says he did a movie called Death Machine before he did Blade. have no idea what that movie is, but he did Japanese British cyberpunk horror film. Okay, so he's so horror type director. Then he gets Blade, which is another horror type thing. I guess that's what their thinking was. Yeah. So yeah, with this film, yeah, I do really enjoy Batman Begins a lot. It is one of my Batman films I do love. It's just like when you try to put in other ones in there, it's just like ugh, I don't know, it's tough. You know what I mean? Like with the animated stuff, and I think sometimes that kind of overlaps it. So it's kind of tough to bring in there. But I do love Christian Bale's performance as Batman, as Bruce Wayne. I do love the whole cast. I think Katie Holmes is kind of weak. I don't know. I think she's kind of weak.
She's the weakest part about this, but even her, I think for what she's given, she's doing an okay job. And let's be honest, the women characters in Christopher Nolan movies are almost never given much to do.
True. Yeah, that's kind of true.
It's like that joke in BoJack Horseman. It's like the women are there, but it's never really about them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Hollywood does still to this day probably have an issue with putting women in movies when it's like they're just like a supporting character. Like when they're the lead of a movie, it's kind of better, but when they're just kind of there as a supporting role, it's like, okay, well, you're just kind of the love interest, or you're just this or that. So it's kind of women are just kind of still kind of tough there. But Katie Holmes is kind of weak. Killian Murphy, who comes in as Scarecrow,
is chewing up that scenery.
Yeah,
and he is so entertaining to watch. It's understandable why no brought him back, even just for cameos in both The Dark Knight and Rises.
Yeah, and that's his boy. He's been with him in a lot of other different movies, Inception.
Yeah, and he's playing Oppenheimer for him in his next film.
Yeah, so that's his boy. Yeah, that's his guy.
Yeah, and just looking on the IMDb trivia, you had like Bale doing most of the stunts in this film. You had no second unit involved, so Nolan is literally shooting all of this.
Nice, yeah. And there's a lot of great, moments in this as well. Yeah, like with the scene where he's got all the bats, where he's got the bat, with all the bats
which at the time you felt like everybody in this film knew and loved the character Batman, because there were so many moments that were pulled from some of the greatest works, like the like swarm of bats, that's from like Year One, the fear toxin, that's pulled from a lot of Scarecrow's original run. A lot of this is inspired by Year One, especially, and also The Long Halloween, I think, was an inspiration that Nolan cited when writing this film.
Yeah, him and his brother, right, wrote this one, Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah, it's him, Jonathan Nolan, and David S.
Yeah. I think when you really look at it, I think Jonathan Nolan really is, I think, kind of the secret sauce there is Jonathan Nolan. I think when it comes to writing the movies there, I think it's Jonathan Nolan. Because you see what Goyer did, well, I don't know. I see with Goyer when he went off and kind of did more of his own thing, like with Blade Trinity and everything like that. It's like, it's like when he did that. But Jonathan Nolan, did you ever see Persons of Interest?
I never watched it.
It's really good. Jonathan Nolan, he was a showrunner and show creator of that show. It came on CBS. That was a really great show. It had Taraji P. Henson in it. It had Jim Caviezel. Actually, I forgot to mention this, but the actor who was in Coda, the guy who was, he wasn't part of the family, but he was like this other fisherman, like the bigger guy. He was actually on Persons of Interest. I was like, oh shit, it's that guy from. He was one of the cops in Persons of Interest. I was like, oh shit, it's him. He was really good in that show, and it also had Amy Anchor in it, who was from Angel, in there, the Joss Whedon show. It also had who else was in that show too? It was really great. Michael Emerson too. Speaking of, he was Joker. He had a big role in that show too. I love that show. I think that's an amazing show. Jonathan Nolan, I think, is a really great writer. I think that's kind of like one of the secret parts to Christopher Nolan's success, because is Jonathan Nolan.
It's like a Tarantino was never as good.
I'm sorry, you cut out there for a bit. What'd you say?
It's like a case of Quentin Tarantino. He was never the same director after the death of Sally Menke, and I think that's kind of a similar thing with Chris and Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah. I think that's a large part. Yeah, Jonathan Nolan. Yeah, his success. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. All right. So my next pick here that I'm gonna do. So my fifth one, Batman: Assault on Arkham and Dark Knight Returns. Then my fourth one was Batman on the Red Hood. My third one, which I think is one of the best deconstructions of Batman out there, it is Lego Batman. Lego Batman, which came out in 2017. It is came off like much after the big success of the first Lego movie, which there was a lot of hate on it. The Lego movie coming out because it's like, what the hell are you gonna do about Legos? This is stupid as hell. Why are you making
And then the movie came out.
Yeah,
And it was awesome.
it's one of the best animated movies. Yeah, in a while. Absolutely, it's an incredibly made
Yeah,
animated
you
film.
can't. Yeah, it's like Phil Lord and Chris Miller. This is like them at the height of their power. It's like they had they had Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 Jump Street, and they were announced to direct the Lego Movie. And it's like, come on, they can't be 3 for 3 with like movies that should not work. And the Lego Movie comes out and they knock it out of the park. And then they announce a spinoff where they're the Lord and Miller guys. They're producing it, but they're not anywhere near the writing or the directing chair. This was directed by Chris McKay, who, off the strength of this film, was announced that he was going to be directing Nightwing for the DCEU. And then DC Films kind of fell apart, and now I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. But this was, when I say this is a great deconstruction of the character of Batman, it's what I think Star Wars should do with the Star Wars franchise, because it really breaks down all the goofy stuff about Batman, and it brings in all the great, great moments and lowest moments from Batman, and wraps it all into one that kind of thing, because it brings in all the Batman references.
You can tell everybody involved in this production, from like the animator to like the intern, the PA, the fucking director, the actors. They all have a deep love and appreciation for the character of Batman. But unlike a lot of them, they aren't slavish to him. They kind of like call out and point out the absurdity of this character. It's like, does Gotham City really need this guy in Bat cosplay beating up poor people?
Yeah, and you have a lot of that with Rosario Dawson's character there, who plays Barbara Gordon. Who talks about Batman and talks about this vigilante. It's like, do we really need him? And then voicing Batman, who I think is a great choice for the comedic version of him, is you have Will Arnett, who plays him, who people know as Job from Arrested Development, who does a fantastic job here.
Yeah, and BoJack from BoJack Horseman, a long comedy career from stuff like Saturday Night Live, stuff like Murderville, which I hear good things about on Netflix.
Yeah. He does a really great job here as the voice of Batman, doing that comedic role. You also have Zach Galifianakis here, who's Joker, who's the voice of the Joker here.
Who is a really underrated Joker. I dug the hell out of Zach Galifianakis, and possibly two of the standouts here. You have Ralph Fiennes or Voldemort as Alfred, and you have Michael Cera as Dick Grayson. And one of my favorite lines, it's like, hey, Mr. Wayne, my name's Richard Grayson, but the other kids call me Dick. Well, children can be cruel.
It's got a great voice cast of people. Yeah, Channing Tatum is in this. He has a small bit as Superman.
Channing Tatum, Superman. Jonah Hill is Green Lantern.
Yeah.
It's such a good cast in this.
And it's also the debut of Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. She was Catwoman in this as well.
Oh, yeah. And just so funny in that. My favorite's Paul F. Tompkins as Bane. And literally just does their, hello!
Yeah, he does the Bane from Dark Knight Rises. They do that callback with the Bane character and everything, which I thought was...
Yeah, you have Billy D. Williams as the Two-Face in this.
Yeah, which is a nice callback to when he was in Batman. Was it Batman Returns?
Oh, yeah, Batman 1989.
Oh, he was in 1989.
And then he was in Batman Returns, and then recast for Batman Forever.
Yeah, so he was recast it. So it's a nice callback to that. Finally he gets the chance to play Two-Face there instead of just Harvey Dent. So that was kind of a nice callback there. What they did there, so that was pretty good. So yeah, you have a lot of kind of great stuff there, and also Jenny Slate as Harley Quinn. Also, I think Jenny Slate does a great job as Harley Quinn in this as well. It's a really funny movie. It brings in all that Batman lore, brings in all these references, from all the multiple decades of Batman. Even you see in the trailer where you have Ralph Fiennes, who's Alfred, who's talking to him, and it was like, well, you already went through these phrases in 1989, and he starts naming.
Yeah, in 2015, 16, and 2012, and 2008, and 1997, 95, and 1989.
Yeah, he's got going through all his phases of Batman. It's like, yeah, you went through a lot of this
Oh,
already.
and the weird. Oh, and that weird one in 1996.
Yeah, where it shows like Adam West, yeah, dancing, yeah, doing the bat dance and all that stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I very much love this a lot. I think it does have this great appreciation for the character, as well as like I said, also roasting the character for a lot of the absurdity that goes along with. I mean, Batman has been in the media for a long time. I mean, multiple like over
He is.
five,
Yeah,
4 decades.
it's like they. Yeah, they celebrated his like 80th anniversary of the character. I think last year. He's a character that's been around forever. Has been in multiple like cartoons, movies, TV shows, video games, and they still find ways to do new and interesting things with the character. Even if with the Lego Batman, it's paying loving tribute, but also we love the character and he's a brother, but we also want to make fun of him.
Yeah, and that's why I said I think they should definitely do this with something like Star Wars. I think this would be perfect, just to really just have fun, with the stuff of all the stuff they've ever done with Star Wars. Because Star Wars has been around for a long time, and also multiple shows, multiple movies, all the things like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Off the strength of this, I really hope that Chris McKay gets another working for DC because this movie is so fantastic, and he's been stuck in development hell with Nightwing since Batman v Superman came out.
yeah, I mean DC, they don't know what they're doing with it. And I think at the end of this, so this going by the ear and the fly, and it's like whatever, we're going with it. But yeah, I mean, it's great for someone like me who loves the character Batman and really enjoying all these references. Even if I don't think all the references to Batman, I still think you can have fun with it because it is
And
good.
pointing out like the absurd rogues gallery, like you have, fuck, Crazy Quilt, Condiment King, and they are all real.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah. Like he just has a crazy rose gallery, and it also gets into also the relationship of Batman and the Joker. It's like they love each other. I mean, it's they. I mean, you know what I mean.
It's a gay room. They code it here more than any other take of Batman and Joker. They code it more here as a gay room.
Yeah. I mean, they just absolutely love each other. And that moment where Batman tells him, it's like, well, I don't think you're really truly my arch nemesis. I'd say I'm.
I like to fight around.
Yeah, like I'm fighting around different people. You see his
I'm
eyes just swell.
I'm fighting a lot of different people.
And I thought that was really good. And like his eyes is all water up and like that with the Joker, and he's like, well, now since I'm gonna prove to you I'm your arch nemesis, and that's what kind of sets the whole plot of the movie off, is Joker trying to have this big bombastic threaten the city type level event, because all to prove Batman how much Batman loves him and everything like that, which I think is really good. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this film. I really adore it a lot. I think it's fantastic. Great kids movie, great movie for also adults can sit there and watch too, because you're sitting there watching. I think you'll also get a lot of the jokes that are also there. So yeah, very much love this movie as well. Yeah. What about you, man?
Oh, my next up on my list, it is the Lego Batman. Well, we already talked about it. We've already said all the things that we love about it, how loving tribute it pays to Batman as a character. It pays respect to, but it's not slavish respect like it is with what I think Zack Snyder did with Batman v Superman. It's love, but also pointing out the absurdity of a character like that and how many different interpretations. But the thing that separates this, it's so funny. There are so many great comic bits in this. The interaction with him and Dick Grayson is so entertaining to watch. It's one of Michael Cera's best performances as a voice actor. I love that bit with Ray Fiennes as Alfred, and Bruce is just like talking to his family portrait, and he just kicks him across the room.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of great gags and a lot of great stuff in there. Yeah, that's just really amazing. Really great stuff. All right, for my next one, we already talked about it already. Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. It's a fantastic movie, genius on a lot of levels. I mean, this works for kind of a lot of the different reasons, but it's kind of same as Lego Batman, where it really gets into this, like psychology of Batman. Lego Batman just does it in a different, more humorous way that does it, and satire, as opposed to here Batman Mask of the Phantasm. But yeah, it also is. It goes to show you that the character of Batman can work in a lot of different ways. That he can be. There's times where like the Adam West Batman, where he can be like that, where he's bat dancing and doing all that stuff, and and there's times where it's like Batman the Animated Series, where the very dark visual aesthetic and all that, times like that. And there's times like with Lego Batman.
This dark gothic aesthetic from that was heavily inspired by Tim Burton's take on Batman, but it's also doing its own thing with the character.
Yeah.
And also the Lego Batman, which is another fantastic interpretation.
Yeah. Then after that one, I have, of course, got to bring up The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight not only is one of my favorite Batman movies, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I absolutely love The Dark Knight. Legendary performance by Heath Ledger. One of the greatest performances. It's funny. About this is that Jared Leto must be punching air, because he's he's the only live action Joker that's never won an Oscar. He must be really fucking punching air right now. Like, Jesus Christ, because Jack Nicholson won for the Joker, didn't he?
No, I don't think he was nominated for the Joker, but he'd won an Academy Award previously. I think he was nominated for The Shining.
He was nominated for The Shining. So he's just the only actor. Yeah. So. He's just the only yeah. Okay, well, I guess, yeah. So I guess him and Jack Nicholson. I was going to say, because I thought he was the only Joker that never won for the performance, I was going to say. But you do have two actors in Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger who won for the Joker. They both won for their performance there. Yeah, what can be, everything's already been said about that performance. It's a legendary performance.
Yep, it's just an incredible film in its own right, and I think the real tragedy is the Ledger, because I feel like a lot of that news, it overshadowed the rest of the cast, and I think there's an argument that Aaron Eckhart for Harvey Dent deserved to be right up there with Heath Ledger on the fucking nominees, because his turn as the idealistic district attorney, and then the slow descent to madness into becoming Two-Face. It's one of the best character arcs I've ever seen in a comic book film. And Aaron Eckhart is incredible in this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, he kind of gets, undervalued, because it's, you have the bombastic performance that is, Heath Ledger, the bigger performance. And Aaron Eckhart, he talked about it, in an interview. I remember him saying that it's like, yeah, when you just have a guy like that, who's in the zone like that, you just got to let him go, you know what I mean? And not worry about it. And
yeah, you gotta let him go. And it's also like a thing, you got to step your game up.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. You just got to really, kind of do your thing. And it's like, yeah, I had no problems, stepping back and let him kind of do his thing. And he would talk about how Heath Ledger was in the dressing room talking to himself and, mumbling to himself and doing all that stuff like that. And yeah, but I think Aaron Eckhart, who, he was kind of on like a big hot streak back, and kind of.
It was, I think he got nominated for Thank You for Smoking, and was cast in The Dark Knight off the strength of that performance. Yeah. I think Nolan talked about seeing Thank You for Smoking and thinking, there's my Harvey Dent.
Yeah, Thank You for Smoking, amazing movie, by the way, directed by Jason Reitman.
An incredible film, and watching that, I can see, this dude becoming Harvey Dent. And something that I think is a fantastic thing about this film, because I'd kind of been out of the Batman comics loop for a while. I forgot that Harvey Dent eventually became Two-Face in the comic. I legitimately forgot that until I saw the movie on opening day, and then the reveal happens, and it's like, oh, they're bringing Two-Face in this? Yeah!
Yeah, and I remember trying to get tickets for that. That was like a big event movie. Like, people, there's a lot of sold-out tickets.
It was the biggest event. It was like, if you didn't get your ticket in advance, or like hours before, because I think this was before theaters were doing like the apps where you could buy tickets online and then pick them up. I think this was long before that, so you had to physically go there, buy your ticket, and then come back for your showing.
Yeah, so I remember going there.
And if you weren't doing that, it was like it was essentially like waiting in line at Foot Locker for sneakers. It was
Mm.
like you got to be there like 5 in the morning to get your ticket, otherwise you're not getting in.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, going to a lot of theaters, going like, yeah, it's sold out, sold out. I was like, damn. I was like,
And
wow.
it was sold out for weeks. But thankfully, this was like pre-internet, so the risk of getting spoiled before you saw it was much lesser than it is now.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of a good thing about that. But yeah, I mean, this really was like, yeah, such a big event. Here you have Maggie Gyllenhaal who comes in here, who replaces Katie Holmes'
Yeah,
character.
who to be fair is also not given a lot to do as Rachel, but I think she's fantastic to give her. I
Yeah,
like her. Excuse me, her interaction with both Christian Bale and Aaron Eckhart as both playing the love interest to both as the love interest of both of them.
yeah.
And I think she's shown that she's a very competent district attorney in her own right. In like the interrogation scene with Chin Han, who is playing Lao in it.
Mm, yeah, and it does have because a lot of people do want different things from their Batman. A lot of people criticize like in a lot of these Batman movies, it's too action focused, not enough detective focus. Like the Batman the animated series
Yeah,
was very very much
they
detective focused.
yeah the animated series that was 100% unabashedly, this is the world's greatest detective, and you get enough of that here that it tided me over.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that here, like him trying to investigate Joker and trying to figure out who this guy is. So I do appreciate that here. Hopefully, there's more of that with the whole Riddler being the villain in the Batman movie with Matt Reeves, where he's trying to hunt him down. So hopefully, we get a lot more of that there in that movie. But yeah, you do see a little bit of that him tracking him down. You also have the introduction of one of my favorite kind of Batman vehicles, the Batpod. You know what I mean? As Michael Caine kind of says it here. And also just a lot of just the opening of this movie also is one of the best openings too. I think of any movie too. Just like when you see
It's
the
one of the
Joker.
greatest bank heists of all. It's one of the greatest cinematic bank heists.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the opening of this movie is absolutely fantastic too. When you have that movie and the music too that they have playing that music with there is also really amazing too with this Batman movie. I think it's also really great. Some people, I mean, as time goes on, some people are like, it's a little overrated. It's a little this, a little that. People say like, well, it's kind
Touch
of
grass.
it's kind of like people say like, well, it's kind of like Heat. It's basically Heat. A lot of people kind of say that with the movie.
Yeah, but Heat is also an incredible fucking movie.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, Heat is also really great, which was the Michael Mann movie. Very, very impressive film. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, this is like I said, an amazing movie up and down for me. Like you said, with Maggie Gyllenhaal's character, I mean, I think it's kind of there's not a whole lot except the love triangle kind of stuff there, and then it does show her a little bit doing her job, but there's a lot of the love triangle kind of stuff there, and I think there's also such an amazing the interrogation scene. That's a great scene. It's him and the Joker. That's an amazing scene.
It's one of the all time great films.
Yeah, I mean,
Great scenes. It's incredible.
yeah, I mean, I think that's an amazing scene. And what Heath Ledger does here is the Joker making him, this real complete psycho and the way he moves around, just face. And I think, and then people say like, well, this movie's only good because it has just the Joker performance. No, this is good for the action is
No.
really excellent in the movie, and Christopher Nolan really knows how to do it. It's like it's way different than what Michael Bay does. Like Christopher Nolan's almost like a smarter Michael Bay, where he doesn't just do explosions to do explosions. Like it's just a lot more smarter and more tactical in the way he does it in his movies, which I really appreciate. And the stuff with like I said, with the Bat Pod, with the Tumbler, which I know a lot of people had a big issue with the Tumbler. Like when it was in Batman Begins, they were like, "This is ugly and it's so big," and it's like, why
Fuck
would you-
that. That shit's awesome.
you know what I mean? But I thought it was kind of dope. I mean, again, different interpretation of what you see with the Batmobile. You know what I mean? Like I like how you have a different version of the Batmobile kind of every time you see Batman.
I think the ethos with this entire trilogy, it's one Nolan wanted to make a Batman that could function in the real world. Is the tech a little advanced? Yes, but there's a lot of it that's based on like real designs, real stuff that is in R&D.
Yeah. And this is also a movie that's in the National Film Registry as well, which is a huge honor for a movie to be there. Yeah, I mean, I love a lot of things about this movie, up and down. I mean, I can go on and on talking about Dark Knight. I mean, it's such an amazing movie. But yeah, that's my number one there. Do you have any ones that you don't like?
Of ones that I don't like. Movies, Batman movies that I don't like. I don't like Batman and Robin. I think that's kind of
Hmm.
that's an abomination of a film. The Killing Joke that we've talked about ad nauseum. Uh,
Batman Forever.
I've kind of come around on Batman Forever. It's one that I've liked more and more as I.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, for me, I think it'd be kind of the same. Obviously, Batman and Robin is, yeah, one of the not only one of the worst comic book movies, it's just one of the worst movies. It's up there with like Catwoman, the Fantastic Four movies. It's just one of
which
the,
is it's one that you had at the time on paper the perfect casting for Bruce Wayne with George Clooney, and you get the whole like dancing like bobblehead Clooney.
yeah, you know what I mean. You do have that, like you said, on paper. It seems like if you're gonna get any actor at the time, George Clooney, it's like, hey, he's good looking guy. He's got the swagger. It's like it seems perfect.
Handsome, swagger, charismatic as hell, and then you get the
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, okay, I get, it's just like, yeah,
the one thing I like about that movie is how little Arnold Schwarzenegger gives a fuck and is just doing the Predator.
yeah, I do love Arnold
Is
Schwarzenegger.
just doing Schwarzenegger is legitimately great in Batman, and I will
Yeah,
give them that.
yeah. I mean, the ice puns. I mean, I've come to. I mean, I know a lot of
What
people.
killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot of great stuff. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of great stuff there. But yeah, I mean, like now that I mean, it's so far removed. A lot of people just go like, yeah, that was just goofy, and people laugh at it and kind of move on with it. But that did,
It's kind of come around the same way that the Star Wars pre have.
yeah, but at the time it did kill a lot of because there was no comic book movie like for some years before like Blade, before they did because Batman and Robin just killed it. It just people just it just like okay, studios was like it kind of nuked all interest in comic book properties for a while after that.
Hey, it's the movie that killed Batman for a decade.
Yeah, so that was like yeah, we're not gonna touch this anymore. Batman,
Oh, another one. Oh, another one I just hate. Batman and Harley Quinn.
Batman and Harley Quinn.
That was a direct to video animated, the same style as the animated series. It had the girl from Big Bang Theory as the.
Oh, Kaylee Coco or
No, not her. It's Melissa Rauch.
oh okay, huh? Okay, Batman and Harley Quinn.
It's not good.
Okay, I don't. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. No, I don't think I've seen
Mm.
that one. Yeah, huh? Yeah. So yeah, for me, yeah, Batman and Robin, of course. Batman Forever, not really big on that one.
Mm.
Tommy Lee Jones is Two Face. I mean, that's the most energy I've ever seen out of Tommy Lee Jones. Just put completely
I
going.
mean, I mean, at the time, it's like both of them were trying to be the Joker, both
Mm,
him and Jim Carrey's Riddler.
yeah. So yeah, it was just like, and also it just because Carrie is already over the top. Don't try to
Hmm.
match what Carrie's doing because you can't match what Carrie's doing. So don't try to match with his
No,
energy.
no,
It's like you
yeah,
can't.
you're going up against Carrey off the heat of Ace Ventura. You're not gonna out over the top it.
Yeah. So I mean, he should have just been the straight man, like how Tommy Lee
Yeah,
Jones is, and
yeah, and that's I think that's what that role was written as. It was the odd couple where Two Face is the straight man and Riddler is the crazy one.
yeah. So it just that just doesn't work. You also have I like Val Kilmer as Batman. Again, very much a guy that fits the role. Good looking guy, Val Kilmer. I
Hmm.
mean, hey, he's Maverick. I mean, you know what I mean. Super good
No,
looking.
he's Goose.
Oh, I'm sorry, Goose. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's Goose. Super good looking guy. You know what I mean. And yeah, I mean, he totally kind of fits the role there, and I think he does decent job as Batman there.
I
Um,
I think he was great as Bruce Wayne. I'm iffy on him as Batman.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, kind of see that there. Also, you had Nicole Kidman in this movie, who was gorgeous, who was stunning in this movie as well. I mean, woof. I mean, when she,
It was it was Nicole Kidman in her prime.
yeah, I was like, wow. I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean that was like wow. Then this was also an introduction of Robin. You had Chris O'Donnell who came in,
Hmm.
who's Robin in this. Yeah, I mean he was kind of an annoying little shit in this, and then an annoying little shit in Batman and Robin. Um,
Yeah, it's like they doubled down in Batman and
yeah, the Alfred in this, Michael Goy. I think he does a very good Alfred. By the way, I think
Mhm.
he's a very good
Yeah,
Alfred in this.
and he was the through line through all. It was he was like the common thread in all of them.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, so that was kind of he was with Alfred. Yeah. And then also I would say I'm not very big on Batman Returns. I'm not. I don't really kind of like Batman Returns all that much. I'm not. Again, I don't really care too much if you divert from the comics, but I didn't like the whole thing of like the Penguin being a real penguin, like Danny DeVito. Like that's just
Okay, yeah. The big thing with both of those is Tim Burton is not a comic fan. He was kind of like that. Oh, why would I like these funny books that for children?
right. I mean,
I am a serious filmmaker.
yeah, I mean, coming from a guy who's 50 plus still dressing like he's, you know what I mean, goddamn emo Phillips, but I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, come on, man. I mean, like, I'm surprised he wasn't into comics because he's all his work is all about the outsider and the weird characters
Mhm.
like with Ed Wood and Edward Scissorhands and all this other stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, so that stuff with Batman Returns. I mean, I respect a lot with '89 Batman and Batman Returns simply because without that, you never would have gotten Batman the animated series. Like that really set the aesthetic
Mhm.
for what Batman the animated series was. But yeah, with Batman Returns, yeah, the whole thing with Danny DeVito being, you know, the Penguin. Even though I do love Danny DeVito, I still kind of, you know, I did, you know, because for the performance he's doing, it's fine. But just with the characterization of like him actually making him a penguin, he eats fish and he like, you know what I mean, is doing this.
Lives in a fucking sewer.
Yeah,
Penguin. And
yeah.
then Catwoman, it's like she's like a zombie resurrected by cats.
Yeah, like she's got special cat powers, you know what I mean? And Michelle Pfeiffer, she was voted best Catwoman, like on IGN's poll, she was voted best Catwoman. I mean Michelle Pfeiffer, she was also another person stunning, like real
Hmm.
gorgeous. And she's, you know, with her doing all that stuff as Catwoman. Actually, I found her more sexier when she was kind of like the assistant instead of being Catwoman. I don't know. I kind of because like when she turned into Catwoman, it was kind of like okay, she's like,
It was basically Tim. It was Tim Burton working on.
oh, you cut out there. What'd you say?
It was Tim Burton working out his S&M fetish.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's a cool outfit. It's a cool Catwoman outfit. I kind of like it, but it's like her licking herself. Like it's like again, it's like the same thing with the penguin. It's
She's
like
a cat, dude.
yeah, but I guess but she wasn't like the whole the licking herself and then the cat puns and all that other stuff. It's like okay, I mean I
I
know
mean,
Catwoman.
the cat puns carry over from the comic.
Yeah, the cat
That's
puns.
actual canon.
Yeah, the cat puns do carry over, but it was just like yeah, it was again it goes into like what I think with the penguin. It's like okay, but she's a cat, so she's got 9 lives, which in the movie too she's kind of got 9 lives like a cat, like the myth of a cat and all that other stuff. Like this isn't really Catwoman, all that stuff. But yeah, the puns are very much that's a part of Catwoman stuff because that's what Eartha Kitt did when she was in the Batman show.
Mhm.
Also, as Julie Newmar as well when she was also Catwoman, and also Zoe Kravitz. You see when she's in the new Batman, you see that there's gonna be some cat puns in there too. But yeah, I mean, there's that. So that's kind of like why I have like a big issue with that as
Mhm.
well. Christopher Walken too in Batman Returns, I don't think is all that good either. And then you have
Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed like Batman?
yeah, you do get a lot of that. The guy who actually played his son, I think, actually did a pretty good Christopher Walken in that movie. Like he did actually a real spot on Christopher Walken. I was like, wow,
Oh, he was basically like doing an impression because he's working with Christopher Walken.
yeah, because like that was his yeah, I mean basically yeah, because that was his son in the movie. Yeah, there was a character who was like a son in his movie. He's playing Max Shrek, and then he has he owns this yeah, he's the evil businessman in the movie. And I was like, yeah, I thought yeah, he was really good there as well. Then Batman '89, not big on Batman '89 either. Not really huge in that
Mhm.
movie. Michael Keaton is Batman. Like that was kind of one of the cases because it goes back to a lot of like fans, fans bitching and complaining. That's nothing new. Fans have always bitched and complained about every movie, comic book
Hmm.
movie, all that stuff like that. Like that's just nothing new. People say like, man, people never complained like this before. It's like people have always been complainers and bitcher and moaners about everything, especially a lot of these comic book stuff. Like when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, um,
Hmm.
and then the same thing goes with Michael Keaton when he was cast as Batman in '89. They go like, "Oh, Mr. Mom, he's gonna be Batman." Like that guy, like what the fuck? Like, that was kind of Michael Keaton at the time of what he was really known for, and he does a great. I do like his Batman.
Yeah, his performance is the him and Jack Nicholson are the best thing about it. I really like the 1989 Batman, but there are elements of it that have not aged great.
Yeah,
I will say.
yeah, elements that have not all that great. The Batman suit, it was that stiff ass Batman suit that you kind of see where he had to really
Yeah, I
turn.
want to have to.
Yeah, like he had to turn his full body to do everything like that. It's funny. I wonder if they'll do that again when he's in the Batgirl movie where he just turns his whole body again, or they actually update it. I wonder if they'll do that.
I think it looks like they've updated it a little.
Mm,
It's like he can actually like turn his head and shit.
yeah, so that like that. And I wonder if Michael Keaton's the shortest guy ever to play Batman because Michael Keaton's 5'9", and I wonder if he was.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
he is. I think Ben Affleck is the tallest one at like 6'3".
Mm, okay, yeah. So Ben Affleck is because in the comics Bruce Wayne is 6'2",
Hmm.
canonically.
Yeah, he's like 6'2" and then 220.
Yeah, so yeah, Ben Affleck, yeah, is about almost the same height as what Bruce Wayne is supposed to be. But yeah, Michael Keaton, yeah, at 5'9", which I didn't really. I was like, I didn't know how. Yeah, he was kind of one of the shorter actors to play him. And yeah, like you said,
I mean, there was also like that. There was also that really weird scene where he just got finished like having sex with Vicky Vale, and she wakes up in the middle of the night, and he's just like hanging upside down like a bat.
I forgot that. Oh my god. Oh Jesus, yeah. Who played Vicky Vale? I forgot who played Vicky Vale.
Vicky Vale was Kim Basinger.
Oh yeah, again, Kim Basinger, yeah, stunning in that movie too. Jesus, Vicky Vale too. Jesus. Yeah, she was looked absolutely great in that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and especially people remember mostly also from Jack Nicholson's performance as the Joker, which also was like a scene, like every scene stealing performance as well. As
Yeah, and he got top billing over Keaton,
yeah.
and people forget that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to do because at first Tim Burton didn't even want to do a Batman. He wanted to do a Joker movie, pretty much there, and not even do a Batman movie. I'd have been interested.
Yeah,
To see.
and also at the time, Nicholson was the much bigger.
Yeah, of course, because of all the great accolades that he already accumulated before he got to Batman '89, stuff from The Shining and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He accumulated this mass, Easy Riders, and everything like that. Also with the bat suit. Like it's like I don't know what material it's supposed to be made of, but he can easily just like pull off the mask, like it's almost like a fruit roll up or something like that. Like he just kind of rips it off like that. So I kind of don't like that stuff there. But yeah, like I said, I do respect the aesthetic and the style of it because without it, we wouldn't have gotten the Batman animated series. Also, Batman murders a lot of fucking people in this. I mean, he murders a lot. He's got no.
This
problem.
was this is a lot of that's kind of the stuff that I'm talking about that hasn't really aged well.
Yeah, a lot of stuff where he's just like he throws a bomb down something, he just tosses a guy in the hole, and then it blows up. Yeah, and
He like straps a bomb to a guy, knocks him over a ledge, and just like lets him blow up.
yeah. So a lot of stuff like that. So it's like yeah. I wonder who. I think I watched a video. I think they said that did he have a higher kill count than Ben Affleck's Batman? I can't remember. Okay, I saw a video comparing it to. I can't remember if they said he had a higher kill count or.
He might. Might have to watch these. He might have killed more people than Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I have to go back and find that video, but I think I was trying to. Yeah, that's somebody. Said comparing.
This movie, they weren't trying to set up a Suicide Squad film in the same universe, though.
Yeah, that's also a good point because and it also goes like what Batman is in this universe because in Peacemaker, like he talks about like Batman doesn't kill people. I'm like, Batman must have a good PR team because he killed a lot of fucking people from what I've seen. But
He's got fucking like Vought Corp corporate backing him or something. Oh, he does. Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah, I mean he must have something because I was like, yeah, I don't know what Batman you watching because he killed a lot of people. Yeah, and I think I don't know how many people credit Christian Bale's Batman kills because some people going back and forth. Do you count him killing Ra's al Ghul? I mean he kills him, right? I mean, do you count that?
I don't see it as, I see it more as he's like given the option to. He gives Raish an option to get off the train and to like live, but Raish doesn't take it. That's how I read that scene.
So he could have gotten off the train if he wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but just I don't know. I guess that's undecided. I guess because I guess he could have saved him, but he didn't save him. But he did. He could have saved himself. So it's kind of up in the air. I guess a little bit there. But yeah, yeah. But he did kill everybody in that temple though. He was like, I won't kill this one guy who's a thief, but I'll blow up this whole temple. I'll blow up this whole ass temple. And,
I'll blow up this whole motherfucking house.
Yeah, and kill all those people there, but I won't kill this one thief though. I won't do that. And it's like,
It's his rule, and if he's not directly swinging the sword, then it doesn't count.
Yeah, I guess that's a loophole. That's a loophole there. But yeah, like with Batman '89, I'm not really big on that movie myself. And then stuff like we mentioned, The Killing Joke. I'm not really. I think The Killing Joke is terrible. I think that's one of the worst DC animated films they've done. Honestly, I think with the expectations that came with it, it was just completely disappointing. Especially bringing in Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, and The Killing Joke is one of the definitive Batman stories, like with Dark Knight Returns and The Long Halloween and Batman Year One. And it's like, man, I mean, that was just a huge disappointment. What they did.
Yeah, it's one of the worst comic book films of all time. There's no. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was great, man. Great discussion about Batman. Love talking about it. Can't wait to talk about the movie next week.